on the determinants of environmental concern. So climate change poses a major threat to the future of humanity. Climate change is responsible for extensive environmental degradation, which manifests into different problems such as extreme weather events, elevated ambient temperatures, and these issues actually have a concrete effect on us humans as well. There have been increased reports of depression and anxiety due to this environmental degradation. Now, this climate issue is very pressing for the world as a whole because it obviously poses a threat to the world as a whole and all the societies living on Earth. Now, the youth should be especially concerned with the climate issue because we are the ones inheriting this polluted Earth. As part of the youth, I am committed to finding solutions to mitigate this environmental issue. And one of those ways is through public policy. Public policy is a widely used method to fight climate change. For example, carbon taxes and cap-and-trade policies are just a couple that have been used in the past. Now, public policy has many factors that shape it, such as lobbying, political parties, media coverage, and other stuff like that. But public opinion is a major factor that helps to shape public policy. And regarding the fight against climate change, public opinion can be thought of as synonymous with environmental concern. And that is important. It is important to understand the determinants of environmental concern so policymakers can tailor their messaging to resonate with their constituency and gain support for these policies. However, the determinants of environmental concern have not been sufficiently studied in the present. The most recent research done on this topic uses data from 2010, which is over a decade from the present day. And many global surveys have published new editions of their data, so it is time to fill this gap in the research. And that is why this study aims to analyze the determinants of environmental concern in the US right now and see how those different determinants differ from the ones found in 2010. Now for the lit review. So across the literature, environmental concern has been seen to have one definition, and that is environmental concern is how people evaluate and react to information, behaviors, and situations related to the environment. Now, the possible determinants of environmental concern in this study can be grouped into three categories. That is demographic characteristics, values and trust, and income level. So the first demographic characteristic to be tested in the study is sex. Now, sex is hotly debated with the relationship between sex and environmental concern is hotly debated in the literature. Some researchers find that males are slightly more concerned for the environment. However, many other researchers disagree, such as Zhao and McCreight. They find that women are actually slightly more concerned for the environment due to something called the safety concerns hypothesis. And because of this disagreement in the literature, sex will be one of the variables tested in this study. Age is also debated in the literature. For example, Honnold asserts that there's an inverse relationship with age and environmental concern, but Gray et al. Says that age does not actually have a relationship with environmental concern, so age is also going to be included in this study. Now, the next category is values and trust, and for the purposes of this study, trust can be split into two categories. So for personal trust, that will be trust between your peers, such as your neighbors, your schoolmates, your coworkers. And some research finds that as higher personal trust increases, environmental concern increases as well. However, this still remains a complex issue, and that is why it will be included. Now on to governmental trust. So low governmental trust could increase environmental concern or decrease environmental concern, according to Franzen and Vogel. However, they say that if you trust your government officials to do their work, you might be less concerned for the environment. However, you also may be more concerned if you are trusting the government to prioritize certain issues. Now, The other variable within the values and trust is post-materialistic values. So the post-materialism theory argues that people prioritize self-expression over economic and physical security. And there is some supportive evidence of this, but many researchers disagree. For example, Dunlop and York say that this is actually a defective indicator of environmental concern. Again, due to this disputed nature, it will be part of the study. Finally, we have income level. There are conflicting effects of income on environmental concern. Some find that as income increases, environmental concern increases as well. However, others find that as income increases, there is a negative income effect, meaning that environmental concern decreases. So this will be part of the study as well. Now, my hypothesis is that all the variables except post-materialism and trust in government will be statistically significant, and I am making this prediction because that is what aligns with a study done on the 2010 variables by Franzen and Vogel, and that is the results that they found. So Franzen and Vogel's 2010 study is the study I'm basing my research off of. They evaluated the determinants of environmental concern in 2010, and because of this, I will be mirroring their method, and I will be mirroring it as closely as possible in order to allow for a direct comparison of our results at the end of the study. Now, for my data, I used the latest edition of the International Social Survey Program, and the International Social Survey Program is a conglomerate of different global surveys on various topics. I chose the Environmental Attitude Survey that was collected in 2020, and it has been used in many similar studies to this one and is a very reputable data source. Now, for my method, I used a linear regression model as Franzen and Vogel did in theirs, but before regressing the variables, I had to create an environmental concern index. I did this by choosing 9 survey items identified by Franzen and Vogel to be related to environmental concern, and I combined those into one variable and standardized it from 1 to 100 to make the results more intuitive. And after that, I would be able to regress the variables using SPSS. And then after that, I took a look at the results and compared it to the 2010 results. And here are the results from the regression. A green arrow indicates that my result and the Franzen and Vogel result is similar, and a red arrow indicates a major shift in the determinants. So as you can see, sex remains statistically significant, as well as age. The H squared effect is not on the screen for the 2010 model because Franzen and Vogel decided not to run the test with solely US data, so it is not applicable. Now, post-materialistic values and relative household income were the same. Post-materialism was found to be not significant, and income was found to be significant. However, there are 2 differences in the data. Personal trust was found in my study to be not significant. However, Franzen and Vogel found it to be significant, and governmental trust was found to be significant in my study. However, it was not in their study. Now, onto the discussions. The first variable analyzed was sex, and this was found to be similar to Franzen and Vogel, where women were slightly more environmentally concerned compared to men. Now, there are several possible reasons for this difference, but the most confirmed and valid one that has been discussed in the literature is the safety concerns hypothesis. That basically states that women are more concerned about issues affecting safety than men are, and that is why they are more environmentally concerned. And the next variable analyzed was age, and this was also statistically significant, similar to Franzen and Vogel's study. This also had a statistically significant squared age test, and this basically means that at younger ages, the environmental concern increases dramatically. However, at older ages, that environmental concern falls off. And one possible explanation for this could be that as younger people are getting more educated and are in the education system, they are learning more about different environmental issues, and therefore their concern increases. However, at older ages, that drops off. Now, there are some direct implications to policymaking that these results could yield. For example, the results from the sex variable could show that, or could tell policymakers to tailor their messages more towards women and make it more about safety to resonate with women and garner their support. However, it is important to draw support from both genders. And for the age results, targeting engagement with the youth to maintain a more environmentally conscious society could yield benefits to support environmental policies. Now, next is post-materialism, and both Franzen and I found that it was not a significant factor. Many other researchers in this field agrees with Donovan York saying that is actually a defective indicator of environmental concern. And next is trust. So trust is where the results become surprising. Personal trust was very different from Franzen and Vogel. I found it to not be statistically significant. Now, there are a couple of reasons why this may be true. In the US, there actually is a trend of declining trust for each successive birth cohort. And this declining trust may have disturbed the relationship between environmental concern and personal trust. Next is political polarization. Hyeon Lee asserts that political polarization was very high in 2016 and continued to rise up to 2020. And this rise in political polarization and distrust actually occurs between the two studies, which could be a reason for this discrepancy. Next is governmental trust. So there is not a clear reason for the discrepancy between our data sources. However, there are many researchers that agree with the results found in my study, as well as Franzen's. For example, Taniguchi agrees that higher trust actually leads to more economic sacrifice for the environment. And the implications of this category could also be taken into account by policymakers. Post-materialism obviously should not be taken into account because this study lends more credibility to the skepticism around post-materialism. But the personal trust could represent a broader societal trend of mistrust, and that could be a threat to social cohesion if true. And finally, we have governmental trust, and that could be thought of as building a more trustful society could yield more support for environmental policies. Now finally, we have income level. This was also seen to be similar to Franzen, and it was highly statistically significant, with higher income people being able to prioritize separate issues besides economic security over low-income people. And the implications of this could be that economic advancement could take place in hand with environmental conservation. Now, there are several limitations to this study. Firstly, I am not an expert with statistical software, so there is a very real possibility that I made an error when conducting the regression. And another limitation could be that I was not able to clean the data due to its sheer size, but Franzen and Vogel were able to clean the data, so that means that the direct comparison at the end of the study was less credible. Finally, the R-squared value, the adjusted R-squared value was quite low, and that is just because individuals are very difficult to predict, and that actually helps to limit the implications of this study. Now, just to summarize the findings, sex, age, trust, and government and relative household income were found to be determinants of environmental concern, but post-materialistic values and trust, personal trust, were not found to be. So for future research, I recommend exploring more country-level factors, such as GDP, urban density, and other factors like that. That's because more macro-level factors have higher predictive power and could yield more direct implications. But overall, addressing this, the climate issue requires moving past borders and ideological divides and working together as a society. Thank you.